Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, once wrote a private note to himself reminding him to say less. Think about that. A Roman emperor, with the authority to command armies and silence entire nations, reminded himself daily that the real battle was not out there on the battlefield, it was inside his own mouth. If the most powerful man on earth needed to practice silence, what does that tell you about the rest of us who speak first and think later? Welcome back. Today we are going to talk about something that sounds simple, but is actually one of the hardest disciplines a human being can master: the discipline of staying silent. We live in a world that rewards noise. Everyone wants to have an opinion on everything. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants the last word. But the ancient Stoics, men like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, understood something that most of us have forgotten. They understood that words spoken in the wrong moment cannot be taken back, that silence often carries more weight than the loudest argument, and that the strongest people are not the ones who speak the most, but the ones who know exactly when not to speak at all. Before we go further, if this kind of ancient wisdom speaks to you, do us a favor and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because we release videos like this every single week that can genuinely change the way you move through the world. Now, let's get into the 9 moments when silence is not just golden, it is essential. Bang, the first time you should stay silent is when you are angry. Anger is perhaps the most dangerous state a human mind can be in, because it convinces you that you are thinking clearly when in reality you are not thinking at all. Seneca wrote an entire book on anger, calling it a temporary madness, and he was right. When you are angry, your words are no longer your own. They belong to the emotion controlling you in that moment. You will say things in anger that your calm self would never say, things that can end friendships, destroy marriages, and create wounds that take years to heal. The Stoics did not say suppress your anger forever. They said wait. Let the fire burn down before you speak, because a response given in rage is rarely a response you will be proud of later. If you feel your chest tightening, your voice rising, your thoughts racing towards something sharp and cutting, that is the exact moment to close your mouth and breathe. The person in front of you will still be there in 10 minutes. Your calm, rational voice will serve you far better than your furious one ever could. Blend. The second time you should stay silent is when you do not have the full story. We live in an age of instant reactions, where people form opinions and share them before they even understand what actually happened. The Stoics valued something called intellectual humility, the understanding that you do not know everything, and that speaking confidently about something you barely understand makes you look foolish, not wise. Epictetus taught that a person should be slow to affirm anything they have not fully examined. Think about how often you have heard half a story, formed a strong opinion, and shared that opinion loudly, only to later discover you were completely wrong. Silence in these moments is not ignorance, it is wisdom. It is the recognition that speaking too soon on incomplete information is a trap almost everyone falls into, and the wise person simply refuses to fall into it. Before you comment on someone else's situation, before you judge a decision you do not fully understand the context of, ask yourself if you truly know enough to speak, and if the answer is no, let silence be your answer instead. Blend. The third time you should stay silent is when your words will not change anything. This is one of the most liberating lessons in Stoic philosophy. The Stoics divided the world into 2 categories, things within our control and things outside our control. Arguing with someone who has already made up their mind, trying to convince a person who refuses to be convinced, debating a topic where neither side is actually listening, these are battles that drain your energy for zero return. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly that wasting time and energy on things outside his control was beneath him as a rational being. If you find yourself in a conversation where you can already tell that nothing you say will shift the other person's mind, save your breath. This does not mean you are weak or that you have lost the argument. It means you understand where your energy is best spent. Some people are not looking for truth. They are looking for a fight, and refusing to give them that fight is not defeat. It is mastery. The fourth time you should stay silent is when someone is deliberately trying to provoke you. There is a particular kind of person who thrives on getting a reaction out of others. They throw insults, they make snide comments, they poke and prod, waiting for you to explode so they can either laugh at your loss of control or use your reaction against you. The Stoics called this kind of behavior a test of character, and they believed that the person who stays calm in the face of provocation has already won, regardless of what is said. Epictetus used the metaphor of a dog barking at a traveler. The wise traveler does not stop to argue with the dog. He simply continues on his path. When someone is trying to bait you into an argument, into an insult war, into a shouting match, recognize the game being played and refuse to play it. Your silence in that moment is not submission. It is a demonstration that your peace of mind is not for sale to anyone who wants to provoke you into losing it. Bomjir. And the fifth time you should stay silent is when you are in the middle of deep grief or pain. There is a strange pressure in modern life to explain our suffering the moment it happens, to post about it, to talk about it, to narrate our pain out loud before we have even processed it ourselves. But the Stoics understood that some emotions need time and quiet before they can be properly understood, alone spoken about. Speaking too soon about a loss, a heartbreak, or a failure often means speaking from raw wound rather than processed understanding. This is not about hiding your feelings forever. It is about giving yourself permission to sit with pain before you try to explain it to others. Silence in grief is not coldness, it is respect, both for the depth of what you are feeling and for the people around you who deserve your honest reflection rather than your unprocessed reaction. Give yourself the gift of time before you try to put words to something that is still forming inside you. The sixth time you should stay silent is when you are asked to reveal something that is not yours to reveal. Trust is one of the most fragile things a human relationship depends on, and gossip is one of the fastest ways to destroy it. The Stoics placed enormous value on integrity, on being a person whose word and character could be relied upon. If a friend confided something in you, if you learned information about someone's private struggles, if you were trusted with a secret, speaking about it to others, even in passing, even as harmless conversation, is a betrayal of that trust. Silence here is not just wise, it is a moral obligation. A person who cannot keep a secret cannot be fully trusted, and a person who cannot be trusted will find themselves increasingly alone as others learn to guard their words around them. If you want to be the kind of person others feel safe confiding in, you must become the kind of person who understands that some information simply does not leave your mouth, no matter how tempting it is to share it. The seventh time you should stay silent is before you take important action. There is an old idea, echoed throughout Stoic writing, that talking about your plans too much before executing them dilutes your motivation and gives others the chance to interfere, discourage, or even sabotage what you are trying to build. When you announce a big goal too early, too loudly, to too many people, you often receive a small hit of social validation that tricks your brain into feeling like you have already accomplished something, when in reality you have done nothing but talk. The Stoics were people of action first, words second. They believed that character is revealed through what you do, not what you say you will do. If you are working on something important, a new business, a personal transformation, a difficult goal, consider staying silent about it until you have real progress to show. Let your results speak instead of your announcements. This kind of silence protects your energy, your focus, and your motivation from being spent in conversation instead of action. The 8th time you should stay silent is when someone is not ready to hear the truth, even if you believe you are right. Advice given to someone who has not asked for it and is not in a state of mind to receive it is rarely helpful, no matter how correct it may be. The Stoics understood timing as a form of wisdom. Seneca wrote extensively about knowing your audience, about understanding that truth spoken at the wrong time to the wrong person can do more harm than good. You may see clearly that a friend is making a mistake, that a family member is heading toward trouble, that someone you care about needs to hear a hard truth. But if they are not emotionally ready to receive it, your words will bounce off them, or worse, push them further away from you. This does not mean you should lie or pretend to agree with something you do not believe. It means recognizing that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is wait for the right moment, rather than forcing truth onto someone who is not yet capable of holding it. The 9th and final time you should stay silent is when your silence itself is the strongest possible response to insult or slander. There will be moments in your life when people misrepresent you, spread rumors about you, or attack your character in ways that feel deeply unfair. Your instinct will be to defend yourself immediately, to correct every lie, to explain yourself to every person who has heard the false version of events. But the Stoics taught something counterintuitive here, that a person of true character does not need to defend themselves against every accusation, because their actions over time will speak louder than any rumor ever could. Marcus Aurelius faced constant criticism as emperor and chose time and again not to respond to every insult thrown his way, understanding that chasing down every lie would consume a lifetime and change nothing. When you respond to every piece of slander, you give it oxygen, you give it your energy, and often you give the person spreading it exactly the reaction they were hoping for. Silence, in this case, is not agreement with the lie. It is confidence that your character will outlast the rumor. Let your consistency over months and years be your defense, not a frantic scramble to correct every false word spoken about you. Plenus. If you have made it this far, you already understand something most people never learn. That silence is not the absence of strength. It is often the clearest evidence of it. The Stoics did not view silence as passivity. They viewed it as active self-command, the discipline of choosing your moments carefully instead of reacting to every provocation, every rumor, every temptation to speak before you have thought things through. Every one of these 9 moments asks the same underlying question: will you let your emotions and impulses control your mouth? Or will you take command of yourself the way the Stoics did over 2,000 years ago? The next time you feel the urge to snap back in anger, to defend yourself against every insult, to share a secret that was never yours to share, or to argue with someone who has no interest in listening, remember these 9 lessons. Choose the silence that builds your character over the words that could destroy it. If this video helped you see the power of restraint in a new way, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more Stoic wisdom every week, and leave a comment below telling us which of these 9 moments hit closest to home for you. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.